With the Panthers season being officially over, it's time to look back on some things that happened this year. And in today's video, we're going to give you a 2020 recap. You're listening to Money in the Bank. To start this off, I'm going to start with the coaching staff. And the coaching staff is one of the things where we've been young. We were very young at every coaching spot, or at least by NFL experience terms, we were young. Matt Rule, Joe Brady, and Phil Snow. And I'll start with Matt Rule. Matt Rule came into this thing as a former Baylor head coach. Gets a 7-year deal to start off his tenure at the Panthers head coach and leading this franchise. And in the first year, I saw potential. I saw a lot of potential, man. I saw some things. I saw some good things. I saw some things that I think you can build upon with the right player personnel. And you can move forward. I like his aggressiveness at times. I like the... I'm not a big fan of analytics, but sometimes I like the aggressiveness of going forward on fourth down. Just go ahead and flex your muscle and try to be, try to make yourself that dude. There's some things that I think we can build upon. Just obviously being better situationally is one of the things that I think that every team can move upon and be better at, but especially this group because we are so young at the coaching positions. Now, if I go to offensive coordinator Joe Brady, I know he's a guy that's getting head coaching interviews right now. I personally feel like he's not ready for that just yet. He needs another year as an OC to truly figure out what he's doing offensively, because while he brought some great concepts over to Carolina, he has not figured it out yet. With the amount of game-winning drives that we could have had that his offense couldn't engineer, I'm going to say that he needs at least one more season. But again, like I was saying, brought great concepts over from college to the NFL game, was able to muster up 3,000-yard receivers. Robbie, DJ, Curtis had 1,000 yards total, and Mike Davis had 1,000 yards total this year as well. So he can engineer offense. But I think he's just 1 year away from fully figuring this thing out and taking it to the next level. Now, Phil Snow. Phil Snow is a guy I was incredibly hard on early on, and my narrative kind of flipped from Phil Snow to Joe Brady because I put more heat on Joe Brady towards the end of the season. But Phil Snow, on the other hand, caught a lot of heat from me early. I just didn't expect this defense to be very good. And this defense, while it was kind of middle of the pack, that was great for the young group that we had. I think that they coached his defense well. This defense grew as the year went by. I know the last game of the season didn't really show it on the scoreboard, but I've seen this defense get better. Jeremy Chin was on another level by the end of the season. I looked at the Minnesota Vikings game, for example. I mean, that was a dominant performance by just one guy, and especially for a guy in the secondary. It's hard to be dominant at that, in that spot. But he is. He put his imprint on the game. Jeremy Chin had a great year. Brian Burns, again, showing how dominant he was, but just applying pressure to the quarterback. F.A. Obata elevated his game. F.A. Obata went from being a great feel-good story to being a legit NFL player and providing us some interior pass rush and another guy that can get to the quarterback. Derrick Brown, again, played solid, anchored that interior of that line, man. I think we have great pieces to move forward with on the defensive side of the ball with a lot of great cornerstones. And I think our coaching staff did a good job of putting this team in position to succeed in the future. Our offense was obviously one of the more explosive offenses in the NFL, and that's thanks to DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and Robbie Anderson. All three of these guys were dominant, and I love watching them play each and every week. No matter whether win or lose, those guys gave me hope each and every week that we would have a chance. And for DJ Moore, he's taking that next step. I mean, with any quarterback he's played with, man, he's had success. He didn't get to have Cam Long, but he was starting to garner success under Cam. Then when he had to play with Kyle Allen last year, had over 1,000 yards with him. Teddy Bridgewater, again, another guy that really didn't succeed to the level we thought he could. Had another successful year with him. So for me, it's watching DJ Moore etch himself into pushing closer towards that top 10. And he's gonna start garnering more attention as the years go by. I mean, right now he's gotten better each and every year. Robbie Anderson, I think it was great for Robbie Anderson to go to a situation where he wasn't the main guy, and because he showed improved. I thought he had a quiet 1,000 yards. I mean, even though he had more catches and more targets than DJ Moore, he had a quiet 1,000. But I think he's a guy that, again, I just keep saying, with the right quarterback, this offense is nuclear. It's nuclear. And Robbie Anderson, he was worth the money that we signed him for in the offseason. I was happy with the production he gave us. Curtis Samuel is becoming the guy that I think we've all hoped he could be. He's just gotten so much better. I mean, it just seemed like every time he was on the field, he was open. seemed like every time he was on the field, he was a chance he could bust one open for a big play, and he did that for the majority of the year. I mean, he was a very reliable target, a guy that you could put in the backfield, showed a lot of versatility, and Joe Brady used him to his capabilities. I think he maximized the talent that Curtis Samuel had. I think Curtis Samuel is only going to get better, and I think he's going to garner a lot of attention in free agency. And may not be a guy we can bring back because of finances, but I'm hopeful, and we'll just have to move forward from there. But let's take a look at our defense and look at what they were able to accomplish this year. Overall, we look at the individual players, man. I mean, I talked about it earlier, but individual per individual, there were still a lot of things that I just did not like about our defense, and one being Tahir Whitehead. Tahir Whitehead, the guy we brought in, being the replacement for Luke Kuechly. We obviously know that job is going to be the toughest job anybody can ever do. You know, and we know you can't fully replace him, but he didn't even do a good job of being a competent replacement. You know, there's nothing. I think that linebacking core is still something that has to be worked on. While we showed promise in other areas, while we showed promise with Jeremy Chin, showed promise on the defensive line, that secondary and that linebacking core is still two areas that I think we need a lot of work with. Tahir Whitehead didn't get the job done. Jermaine Carter did come in and provide some things for us, but I think he's still better suited as a backup role, and the Panthers do need to go find a starting middle linebacker, at least in free agency or in the draft. Now, if I go to the secondary, Dante Jackson, for what it's worth, when he played, he was dominant. Maybe not dominant. Let's slow down on that. But he was a very good cornerback this year when he was healthy and when he played. He helped provide us some stability in the back end. And also Rasul Douglas, while he didn't finish the year on great terms and he struggled at times, I think Rasul Douglas is a guy that has earned his way at least back and onto the roster for next year. The Panthers still need to go figure out what they need to do at the number one corner spot. But again, Carolina has won plenty of years where we made the playoffs without a dominant secondary or a single dominant secondary member. So the Panthers don't necessarily have to go that route if they want to go get back to the playoffs or even be a championship contender. So now we look towards the front office. I have to look at the front office and say this: while this year has been a success and we saw players step up and elevate, and we have things to build upon in 2021, I'm still not giving the front office a pass. There were things that you did in the offseason that just for us as fans didn't make sense, and when we put them out there on the field, didn't make sense. You released our franchise leader at quarterback for Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater was not successful this year. This was not a successful year. This is how you were going to go about replacing the best quarterback in franchise history. This was not the way to go about it. Now, again, other signings such as Stephen Weatherly didn't work out. Tahir Whitehead didn't work out. Obviously, this is a young coach figuring out guys he can pick up and sign and everything like that, but these things didn't work. And for Carolina, in the front office, you put us into a position that we didn't necessarily have to be in. We didn't have to rebuild just yet, and initially you told us this wasn't a rebuild, this was a retooling. So now the messaging from the front office to me has not been consistent, and that's something that I will hold them accountable for the foreseeable future. I mean, until we get back to the playoffs, man, I will hold this front office accountable. I'm very positive about the things that we're doing well. But that front office needs to be held. They need their feet held to the fire for what we had to endure as fans this year. We didn't have to be a 5-11 team. You made that choice with some decisions you made. When you get rid of certain players and you do certain things, you put yourself into that position. But that'll be how I end this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like and subscribe to the Panthers Nation podcast YouTube channel and Gym Dropper Sports. More content will be on the way with the offseason here. I'm going to give you guys exactly what you've been needing, bro. I got what you need. Just give me time. Give me time. But I'm your host, Shontis Stewart, and I'm out.